Welcome everyone to the newest LP and the first one in 2012. Today we're going to start to take a look at one of the, in my opinion, best games that I've ever played in my entire gaming career, and that is not only once, but actually about 2 dozen of times possibly. Although, admittedly, I didn't play the add-on too often, like about 8 to 9 times perhaps to the end. But Shadows of Am, for example, the Baldur's Gate 2, was the most prominent choice when I wanted to play a little bit of RPG style stuff. So, Baldur's Gate 2, why? And especially, why not, for example, the previous one? The Baldur's Gate 1 thing. Well, first off, I'm not too familiar in Baldur's Gate 1. I've played it like 2 times to the end. It's a quite enjoyable game nonetheless, but my actual gameplay knowledge doesn't stem from the original Baldur's Gate, unfortunately. Which I did play with a friend back in the days when it was released, and we just played on his computer and we kind of took turns and just did some quests, each of us, and then switched over and so on. So it's quite a fun game actually. And then 2 years later, when I was looking on the market to buy something new, I came across Baldur's Gate 2. I was like, I remember this title. The first one was quite enjoyable. How about taking a look at the second one? Turns out you could actually import your character from Baldur's Gate 1 to Baldur's Gate 2, which unfortunately for me, of course, I didn't have it. So, well, sucks to be me at that point, and I just needed to start with a new character. However, what I then found out in the game itself, you actually start off with level 7. I was like, interesting. And from that point onward, I was like, wow, I'm already an experienced adventurer, I don't need to start at level 1, this will be fun times. As it turns out, if you play this game for the first time, you have a problem, because the game will be quite difficult for you, I would assume. If you don't know anything about Dungeons & Dragons rules, on the other hand, as well. So, basically you need to find a way to play the game, but not be overrun by enemies or be deterred by their spells to die. So it's quite a challenge, I would assume, for someone who hasn't played this game yet, to really see what's going on. Now, Baldur's Gate 2 was released in the year of 2000, so it's about now, as the making of this video, is actually probably about 12 years old. But I just want to point out that the graphics for them, for that time, were actually pretty fancy. I would think that the drawn background and the spell effects and some such were actually pretty good. And I just want to say that I do enjoy the graphics style of Baldur's Gate 2, even though it might be quite old. It can still hold its own, especially if you use like specific mods like a widescreen mod and some such to re-establish the UI to your specific frame size. That is probably something for you. Now, Baldur's Gate 2, what I do want to show you before we're going to delve a little bit into the character creation, which I'm going to be a little bit more shorter on the end, because I think the character creation is one part that I could explain a lot of stuff with, but I feel that this takes away a little bit from the actual game itself. I'll try to not explain too many things about Dungeons & Dragons, because I think that the main part of this game is to show you the game itself, and not explain the rules that are all behind this. At some points I might just point out a few things because the system lets me to, but other than that I want to refrain from doing too many things and explaining too much about Dungeons & Dragons. Especially since the second edition that this game is based on, or at least a little bit of a modified version for that point, is quite old. Normally you will not find any kind of roleplay game nowadays that actually relies on the second edition in its development. Normally you will find a third edition game, or perhaps even, I think the new Neverwinter game actually might rely on the fourth edition of Dungeons & Dragons. So third and fourth are probably the more prominent editions that are used on today's market. So I would think that I'm going to stick to a very basic explanation of things, and if there are any questions, just post them down in the comments and I will answer them as I can. Now, before we delve deeper into the actual characterization, let me show the introductory video for you.
You spent your youth in the library fortress of Candlekeep, under the kind tutelage of your foster father Gorion. Imoen shared this home, a kindred spirit. Her background was as mysterious as your own. Gorion's murder brought answers to your questions when his killer Saravak was revealed to be your brother. You and Saravak were a product of the time of troubles, a chaotic period when gods were made flesh and forced to walk the earth. One such deity foresaw his own death and walked the land before the cataclysm. He left a score of mortal offspring, intended to be the fuel for his rebirth. The god was Baal, Lord of Murder, and you are one of his children. Saravak sought a war of sacrifice to prove his worth, believing he could become the new Lord of Murder. You killed your brother, sending his taint back to Baal. You were the hero of Baldur's Gate, but some suspected you shared the same lineage as Saravak. You departed soon after, under circumstances much darker than anyone would have believed. They came as you rested, figures cloaked in mist that clouded your thoughts, blurring the lines between consciousness and dreaming. There was no malice or hatred, no mention of an old score, only quick capture and the promise of grim deeds to come.
Now this does look like an interesting beginning to this game, isn't it? Yes. So, in the beginning of the game you are being held captive by, well, the dude that we just saw in the last few seconds of the second part of the video. Now, our priority will be to escape from there. And from that point onward, you're basically free to do whatever you like. However, we're going to follow a specific path that I think is probably the best for now. Now, before we go to the character creation screen, let me just share some things that I think are the best things about Baldur's Gate 2. And you might agree or disagree with those, but I think I'm trying to put a picture here that actually shows why this game is so good. In my opinion, one, if not the best role-play game that I've ever played in my entire life. At least of this kind of stuff, like party-controlled role-play games. You have a very strong presence in the whole character thing. Like, you are one guy or one woman that you can create for yourself, and then you can fill up your party up to 5 members. And in total then, of course, it's 6. So you can get 5 NPCs into your party that can help you on different occasions and prove their skills to be worth your allegiance. And the best thing about these characters is that they have some kind of interactions towards each other. They talk, they have problems, you can solve them, they each have their own specific quest line that you can fulfill. You don't have to, but you can. And if you want them back, of course. And these quest lines and the interactions just makes these characters so much more likable, so much more real than you can ever imagine. I mean, normally in some kind of party roleplay games, the side characters normally stay very, well, undeveloped and very shallow. But I think Baldur's Gate 2 handles this perfectly, in the sense of that they show the characters, point you in the right direction, and then you can interact with them, talk to them, find out about their past, about what is now, and what is going on with them. And I think that characters in this game are really, really well developed, even though they're lacking at some points that you don't get a little bit of background info that you might want to have, but most of the time they're pretty deep, and they have their own agenda, so to speak, other than being with you and helping you. So I think there is a point that I actually like a lot about this game. Also, the storyline is fantastic. And with that I mean not only the stretch that the story will span, like you start off as a, well, captured dude or woman, and you go all the way from there to a hero that arises at the end of the game. And that will take you to places that you may have never thought possible that you would go to. Like, this game is really epic in regards of where you actually go. I mean, the first Baldur's Gate was basically, well, you start in Candlekeep, and you walk along the Sword Coast from dungeon and towns to, in the end, Baldur's Gate, which was very good, don't mind that, but it didn't feel as an epic adventure. I mean, you're traveling around the land. That is basically it. Adventuring, so to speak. But this game here really takes you from a town to... I'm not going to spoil anything yet. If you haven't played the game, you will see later on where we're actually going. But we travel through so many different locations and so many different parts of the world that this really feels like an epic adventure. And that is something that not many games actually make you do right now. That they take you on this epic adventure and try to share some locations with you that have never been before. And that makes this game so special. And then there's of course the character creation, that you can definitely make your own choice with your own character and really have a set of options to choose from, and just make the character that you want at this time, at this place. There are normally like 3 different subclasses or kits for your class that you can use, and that just makes it so much more immersible, so much more your choice what you actually want to have. You have benefits, you have things that don't benefit you when choosing that kit. Like, you get some malices on your hits and damages, but on the other hand, you're just so hard to hit that no one can actually touch you and stuff like that. So you really have this choice that you can make here, and I think that's one of the things that really makes me love this game so much. You can play as anything you want, basically. Now, I think that actually sums it up, what I do like most of this game, but I do want to say that there are a few flaws in the game that you might well say, that's not actually what that should be. Like, for example, draining levels by, for example, undead creatures. If you've never encountered anything like that before in a Dungeons & Dragons game, especially when you come from Baldur's Gate 1, then, there was in Baldur's Gate 1, but only on very rare occasions. In this game it's much more prominent, that you get level drained, and some should need to restore the levels that you earned by using, for example, a spell scroll or using clerics to actually make that happen. Is you go into a dungeon, for example, even you cannot get out at that point, and you get level drained, and then you ask yourself, okay, what am I going to do? Like, you can't rest because otherwise monsters will attack you, to rearrange your spells, for example. And this level draining system is quite annoying at certain parts, especially when you later on fight enemies that drain you on hits. It's very easy to just get level drained in this game, other than in Baldur's Gate 1. And fighting that, like having spells available at your disposal, can be quite tricky if you don't know what's happening to you. So if there's something going on that you definitely need to prepare for, or if you have a specific weapon that you can equip that saves this from happening, then I'm going to say that in a little bit more of prominent fashion, so you actually can see why I did that. Also, tactical decisions I'm trying to show you a little bit more deeply when there is one available, and it's useful to know what I'm going to do. Right, so enough talk about this, all the good stuff and bad stuff. Let's just go to the character creation, shall we? Let's start with a new game. And you might be thinking, well, this is going to be a bland character. And actually you won't be so wrong about that. But I want to show you what kind of weapons there are, what kind of armors there are, how they fit your character, how you can benefit from these, and especially find some things that you might not have found on your playthrough as well. And if I'm going to advise something, if you play Baldur's Gate 2, play it with the add-on installed on your disk, because there are so many things in the UI that got changed, especially pressing the tab key to show all things that you can actually click on in the environment. For example, finding things on that basis makes it so much easier to really find what you're looking for, and maybe even discover things that you didn't see before. That this is really important, I feel, for me personally. It makes the game so much more, well, easier to handle than before. You don't need to click on everything to just find out or hover your mouse over if you can click it or not. You just press tab and you can see everything you can click on. Perfect! I like that. I really, really do. Now, I'm going here with a fighter combination. I thought about using a Kensai, but then I decided against it, because although the Kensai is a very good kit to go with, it has the lack of not being able to show you all the good armors that are in this game. I really would like to show you one thing that is on my character and then just make it happen, so to speak. So I'm going to go into gender creation. That sounded weird for some reason. I'm going to show you my favorite portrait, by the way, here. If I play as a woman. As a man, I would think that my... Let's see, what was it again? Normally I choose one of these. For example, this one here I like for a barbarian, for example. This is the ultimate picture for someone looking grim and such. I think this one is like for my bard or thief whenever I play to choose one. Or choose to play one, for example. Perfect portrait for a ranger. Yeah, and that's most of the time it's actually it. I play sometimes with this one if I play a paladin. So you can also import custom portraits, of course, but I don't have one, so I'm not going to. I'm going to choose human as my race. That just makes it a standard thing to do. And I'm going to choose a normal fighter here. You might say, well, we're not going to a power game. You could choose Kensai or Berserker, but I'm not going to. I'm going to show you the most beginner mode friendly way of playing this game. And that is, in my opinion, playing a normal fighter with nothing that goes against you and for you specifically. The fighter has the prominent positive of that he can wear everything he wants, use everything he wants, and specialize in that way. So we are going to choose a female fighter for this thing. We're going to go with neutral good. It doesn't influence too much on your playing style. You just go with that. Abilities wise, I'm going to restrict myself to rerolling 10 times. I know that normally I do like, well, I'm going to reroll, I get the best character ever. But I'm not going to do that in this playthrough because I feel it's not worth it. Now, we can lower attributes. I think 8 or 9 is the minimum that I actually want to have. Because otherwise it just feels dumb. Right. This is not so great. Well, this could be interesting. Let's see. Oh, yeah, let's store that one for later, perhaps. It's not so great. It's like number 5, number 6, and number 7. Oh, that one looks actually quite interesting. Let's see. Alright, let's make that down to 8. Number 7. No. No. Number 9. And number 10. And the last one. Alright. Doesn't seem that I get too much out of there. But we should be okay with this setup. I think this is probably what I'm going for in this case is that I still have like kind of a flaw in my character. Like intelligence, wisdom, charisma is quite low actually. But I don't want to put it like this. I mean, you could do that if you so desired. Like the dumbest fighter ever, but the most charismatic one and strongest one ever. But I'm not going to do that. I could do it, but I feel it's just not the right way to do it. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. And that is our character to be. So I'm basically a very strong, very HP-wise, efficient character, but I have my flaws in charisma, intelligence, and wisdom, which is, I personally think that's fine. If you disagree, well, fine, you can. But I personally think distributing those skills evenly on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma is the way to go. Even though I feel like I could have 18, I'm not going to. Now, skills-wise, I'm going to go with a, well, standard thing that I'm going to do here. And that will enable me to use these weapons in a very good fashion. I'm going to go with 2 weapon star, meaning I can wield 2 weapons at the same time. And I'm going to go with long swords for now. Later on we'll get more points here, up to level 5 here. And I'm also going to start a new weapon after that, at some point. I'm not going to say which though. We'll find that out. Right, gonna make the hair a little bit more reddish. Skin we'll leave at that. And then what do we go for? Normally I go with this, a kind of a silver-ish color with red on the sides. But for the celebration of today, we are going to go with yellow and red. Because, you know, Hulkamania! No.
Everyone would. Oh, this is getting us. My wounds could use a bit. Yeah, nuts. Oh, I really. You will fall by. Of course, I'm the best choice. Everyone would bend. Oh, you know, this is getting us. My wounds could use a bit.
Either number 2 or 3,
yeah,
I suppose.
Oh,
That's more of a thief class voice, I assume.
yep. Something you need. Just point me in the. Okay. You will fall. Of course. I must rest soon. There are far better things. Everyone will benefit.
Yeah, let's go with that. I'm going to go with my alias that I used like years ago when I did choose something like this. Gonna be Draconia. Now, let's get cracking, shall we? This first episode will probably be a little bit longer, but we'll see how that goes. That doesn't sound good. I think that's me in the middle cage, isn't it? Yes.
Ah, the child of Baal has awoken.
Indeed.
It is time for more experiment.
Oh god, what you gonna do? Oh nice, I get burned with
Pain will only be
flames.
passing. You should survive the process.
And struck by lightning, lovely.
Interesting. You have much untapped power. Do you even realize your potential?
No, if you kill me I probably won't ever.
More intruders have entered the complex, Master.
They act sooner than we had anticipated. No matter, they will only prove a slight delay.
Notice that he's glowing, by the way, like on and off glowing. And there he's gone. That was Dimension Door, by the way. It just teleports himself away. And that dude is now only a rock. Wonderful.
Wake up, Hugh. Wake up! Come on, we have to get out of here.
Oh, hello, Emoen. Emoen was one of the characters that you can have in your party as of Baldur's Gate 1. However, in this game I'm only going to take her with me for the time being. I'm not going to keep her in my party. For later. No. What, Emoen? What's going on? Well, yeah, he kinda did. Yeah, what kind of things? Doing things, what do you mean? Well, this lag is not going to stop me. Yeah, but we're going with the more aggressive solution here. I want to know who's behind this. I owe them a depth of pain. Later? Yeah. While you talk philosophical. Okay. Alright, let's go. Yeah, we'll go there. Yeah, they probably did, like, they sold everything just for that part. Now, let's start by going off to the left-hand side, shall we? Because in there, you've got stuff that you can collect. And you know, RPGs and stuff equals loot and equipment.
Yep, gotcha.
Now the UI is pretty simple. You can access your abilities down from here. The menu bar on the left-hand side provides you with everything that you need, from inventory to map and journal and spell books. Now for this first part we are going to press tab so you can actually see this is like you should see things when you have installed the add-on. Quite nice actually. I'm going to expand this one time. And then I'm going to use her abilities. For example, this one here is thieving. And you can then open this. And also you should definitely note that detecting and disabling traps is going to provide you with experience
What do you
points.
want?
So use that as much as you can. Oh, I didn't want to hide in shadows. I just wanted to disarm
Good
the
to go?
trap. And that's that.
Yes, whatever
You can cycle through your characters as 1 to 6. 1 the first one, 6 the last one, or in this case it's 1 and 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6, if you get more members. Now we're going to collect all that is in here. Very important. I'm going to collect all that is in here. And we're going to collect all that is on this table. If we can. Now this is, by the way, an unidentified object that we can use later on if we identify it, either by having the ability to have enough lore meaning if you can identify an item that has less, let's say, gold value than your lore skill would have, like you right click on it and, for example, this is worth 200 gold and she can identify items up to 300 gold, then we now would have known what this is. In this case we do. It's a dagger +1. I'm gonna keep that here for now. We don't give her that as a main weapon, but still. It's going to be a longsword. And we're gonna give her the best armor that we have, the splint mail. Gonna give her the potions as well, and the helmet. Now Imo, on the other hand, will get the least valuable armor. That's going to be a leather armor. It has a value of 8. The lower the number, the better the armor. So our armor has 4, this one has 8. Spell-wise, I'm going with a lot of identification for now, because lots of magical items will be coming up in the very near future. I'm going to go with attacking spells from level 2 onwards though. Although I'm going to choose 1 times haste over here, and 2 fireballs, for good measure. Want to keep 1 time of stone skin available to us to protect ourselves, and enhance invisibility to go with that if we really need to. Now let's pick up the rest from the table. Also notice there is a key among this, you want to collect that at this point, and it says it's for your hero cell. We'll find her very soon.
Just ask, if you say so.
Alright. And before we continue in opening these cages, we're going to save, and the rest of this dungeon will be up for next video. So, I'll be seeing you next time in Baldur's Gate 2.